So, what did my mother say about that? We're back with a part 2 of Arcturian philosophy, and some more talk about the reptilian gray AI system. What did my mom say? Well, this explains very much how the system works. She said, "Oh, you know what, dear, it seems like the right hand doesn't know what the left hand is doing." Exactly. Alex Collier also explains this in a different kind of way. The way I notice the system is set up is such, the best way to describe it is like Linux, as shells. And the way I finally figured it out in that fashion is because I would be looking at someone or picturing them in my mind's eye and try to see if I could see their aura. But around people who I realized were possessed or reptilian, they wouldn't have an aura that looked human. They would have almost as if it looked like a series of shells, or if the whole thing was encrypted like Linux. And I realized, wait, okay, it seems like this is very much how it works. What seems to go on is different parts of the system are given different information. Think of this just like if you were running Linux on your computer. If one of those shells gets taken out, the rest of the system still runs, because each part has a copy of the whole. Kind of like a fractal done backwards. Like, if we think about a fractal, every part of a fractal reflects the whole. But this is some kind of confused dark art fractal going on here we've got. I noticed that, I would try to tell this to people, but I would notice that, oh, did you know you're being lied to? With my stepfather, I actually said to him, are you aware, now that my mother has control over you, after you handled her for so long, now this has happened, and now there's a male possessing entity inside of her, and it tells you what to do. She's planning to murder you. She's planning to outright kill you and make it look fake. That didn't go over well, even though I was doing the right thing, and even though everybody hates my stepfather, including his own son. I thought, I've got to do the right thing. We're talking about murdering people here, but we have to also remember, you know, that some of the things we're talking about aren't exactly people. But then again, we're talking about consciousness. We are consciousness, not our genetics. We are not, you are not your body. For all those people wanting to shove Buddhism at me, well, I didn't need to be told that to know that you are not your body. What you guys need, that you guys as spies need to understand, is that you are not your body. You are not the chip in your head. You are not, you know, something telling you orders. You are not the little drone that gets followed around if you try and go anywhere. You are not that. You are not your body. Oh, wow. Okay, that's actually very convenient. For the very people that were there, hey, Marco, you're not your body, stupid. Yeah. So regarding their system, what they do is they keep all of the reptilians are kept constantly confused. Now, do the reptilians act kind of, you wouldn't really want to be around them? Yes. They do act like exactly what Peggy Kane talks about. They tend to make jokes about raping you or murdering you in your sleep or something like that. But this behavior is propagated through what they are exposed to from birth, which has to do with then the artificial intelligence running everything the Greys are doing, which it seems like half the Greys don't even know what they're doing. To take this from the Andalite Chronicles, you know, sometimes they abduct random humans. Sometimes they perform medical experiments on them, like giving me, maybe in the better light we can see it. Yeah, there, injection mark on my arm, which burned when I woke up and I had to place my hand here to use healing to stop whatever it was. Marks on my feet. Sometimes they just abduct random earthlings. Sometimes they perform medical experiments on them. Sometimes they take them back to their home world to make them zoo animals on their planet. You know, I kind of feel bad for them. I don't think they understand themselves. That's what the Arcturian author, or the Arcturian hero of the story says about the Greys and the various type of Grey. It seems like us as humans are quite a bit more ahead of them in terms of figuring out what species is what. We could call black people, or a different species or something. We could call the white people different versions of white. Alright, we can argue over, I'm German, yeah, you're Russian, you're whatever. Who cares? We've pretty much figured out white. Yeah. Even with white and a black person, it's like, oh, it's a human. Yeah. Now we need to jump to, oh, it's conscious. Cool. Such as everything that we see around us. Oh, it's conscious. Cool. That's something Cryon says right there, Krista. You've just gotten to something that they are missing. They understand this from a scientific point of view, but not in the kind of capacity of pure creation that you are understanding it, and it's no coincidence that we gave you the name Eden. And I thought that, well, I don't think I'm deserving of the name Eden. I mean, a bunch of people don't like me, right? And I was told, well, a bunch of people don't like you because they were programmed into it. You were programmed into thinking that you weren't likable. Think about who you were as a little child who all you wanted to do was be helpful. You tried to stay in the corner. You were quiet. You didn't do anything wrong. And systematically, your own teachers even preyed on you, watched you. I had a teacher who came in to watch my class, actually, for a year. And if I could get a hold of one other person in that class and say to him, hey, you know how we were walking around saying things about that particular person and we thought we were making a joke, but we would say Mr. Anderson, like something strange like that, even though we all loved this teacher. But the guy, we were saying that because he was a spy. Just like with my cat, I would call the cat Donald Bond. From getting him, I would say Donald. I would say Bond, Donald Bond. And then what do I realize? 5 years later, as I'm being attacked, the cat's eyes turn red, and when they look at me, I get slices across my body, or it appears that I'm harmed somehow, or see blood spatter on me. And I look at the cat, who I'd noticed appeared to understand English when I adopted him at 1 year old, and said, oh, Bond, Donald Bond. Oh, and then when I said that cat got such a scared look. Not like a random scared cat. It got this look like, uh-oh, my cover is blown. Oh my God. It knows, it knows, the human knows that I'm not I'm some sort of super cat or differently bred cat. It was microchipped, so that was probably part of it. Microchipped under the name Zeus, apparently. So, sadly, yeah, I'm gonna let go of those things. But, so what happens in this system is the different reptilians are told different things, and they're told, don't say anything to anybody. They're taught these different methods, like for the Dune people, of, quote, holding up a shield. And see, that kind of shielding concept isn't something that Arcturians really use in normal society because they don't need to. the idea is not to shield yourself from everybody. The idea is that you're all one. You can't, and this is what Cryon says again, the reason that I'm picking her is because she says everything. Why would you want to have a secret? What is the purpose of that? In the place where you're going to completely telepathic society, you think you're going to have secrets? Why would you even want to have any of them? You're all one. It's like you're saying you want to have a secret from your hand or something. How do you do that? It's your hand. Oh, I want to have a secret from the other person. But how do you do that? The other person is you. It doesn't compute, is what he's trying to put across. And this idea of, like, having, you know, these invisible thought bubble shields and things like that, which are to protect a person from these psychic type entities. Cryon says, well, yeah, for now that you're in the middle of such active war, basically, you know, we're doing things that involve part of what they do to protect you as much as we can, but the idea, guys, is that you're going into a place where the point is there's not going to be any secrets. The point is that you're not even going to want any. Why would you want any? And I found myself feeling kind of offended that I couldn't even just sit in a room and read without someone coming in and saying, "Oh, someone's playing a little bit too loud in here," meaning they were hearing my thoughts too loudly, and also they really hated that I was such an active thinker, because they could hear all of it, and they didn't seem to like hearing all of it. And I would think, well, look, I'm not trying to think things at you. Can't I just do this to myself, or what? Yeah. And so with the artificial intelligence system, slowly but surely, the picture that I'm being given, it's almost like we short circuit the whole thing somehow, whether or not we see it in front of us or not, or see it astrally in whatever dimension or not. That this whole overmind, which is the basis of the AI, almost like a version of top of the pyramid, or diamond rather, structure. If you're including hell, the bottom half of the diamond is what you call hell. And Dante's 9 levels of it, that's where C.S. Lewis says Dante is the best. You can't tell that he's talking about stuff that's real, in his preface to the 1961 edition Screwtape Letters. So it seems like with our continued intentions, also a lot of us are going to notice we walk around electronics and they just start breaking. Things like that. As we navigate more into a completely telepathic society, there are going to be problems from the people who are designed to be like soldier drones. But Cryon says, see here, Krista, here is where all of you and the rest of the humans watching have the advantage. You identify as human. Yes, you're starseed from wherever. Yes, maybe it could be true that you have part Arcturian DNA in your physical body that's helping you survive. Maybe that's true. But you know what? You are calling yourself a native of the planet, a human. And part of it has to do with the calling oneself human and meaning it. Okay, so Cryon says this has to do with going back to Lemuria. and he says, you know you were a woman in Lemuria. The people in Lemuria were not confused over what race who was. They weren't confused over, am I from the Pleiades? Even though they understood all this, he's saying they were all star seeds. Hello? Pleiadians, hello? You guys know this stuff. He's saying you guys know this stuff. The way the Pleiadians seeded humanity. And he says, well, you know, everybody there knew that they were from some other place originally. They understood that. They had their memories of their Akash. They understood the memories of the societies that they came from. But they identified themselves like you are doing, Krista, like what you are doing. You come from somewhere else. You work on a spaceship, whatever. But you live here. You identify yourself as an Earthling human. And he says most of the power comes from the fact that we, what you would call, well, Lemurians, pre-Lemuria, the advanced, you know, and Lemuria, the first advanced spiritual society on the Earth, which was apparently located around where Hawaii is, when that used to be the largest mountain at, you know, at sea level before it was engulfed by sea. He says that because of all of us that associate ourselves as human, that is the same as like what the Lemurians were doing. And bringing that healing energy back is what will continue to heal the planet. And so ultimately, he says, you know, think about Lemuria, Krista. They didn't have any of this AI stuff. They didn't, you know, they didn't have any computers. They didn't have a telescreen that you're you know, talking into. They didn't have any of that. But they knew about DNA. They knew that DNA was quantum. They knew about the solar system. They could communicate with other extraterrestrial species, and they did. How much more advanced do you think they were? Do you think that they, you know, in Lemuria, before a bunch of people showed up and ruined the party, do you think that they would have become easily subject to someone's artificial intelligence programming on them? And my first thought is no. They would have walked past the harp, and the harp would have broke. And he says, yes! Exactly, because their magnetic fields were so enhanced, their DNA was so active, running at such a high percentage, that instead of being affected by that frequency, their frequency would actually dominate. And so, what I'm getting right now to talk about with the concept of the artificial intelligence, yes, it exists, and also, yes, inside this cell phone, it's a Samsung Galaxy S4. It does not have to do with the model of your phone. It has to do with how much you're being watched and how new your phone is, how easy your phone is to hack into. After I proved pesky, the Greys and Reptilian, whatever, one of their programs hacked itself into my phone. And so if I turn on that, when I turn on the phone, I see a blue eye blinking at me, which no is not normal. I know what the phone was like when I bought it, and I do know exactly what, you know, the timing that corresponds to this strange stuff happening. It will attempt to tell me what to do, as in it will attempt to click on things for me, or show me things to watch, or it will show me Hebrew numerology saying you're gonna die, or it, you know, it will scroll along for me and attempt to point me to things to look at. and I'll sit there and I'll hold my eye up. I've done this before. Hold my eye up, right up to the camera, and say, no, because much of the way they're watching you is through the camera on the phone. I realized. If you will notice with the newer smartphones, if you attempt to shut them off, not shut them off, but lock them or turn them away from you when you're watching something or when you're listening to something, it will stop. And I always thought, why is that? And now it's pretty clear why that is. It's clear why that is because if the phone is turned away from you, it's not staring at you. It can't attempt to do things to you through, say, someone watching it through something like Reiki, or just spy on you, because for the most part, it's not really people doing Reiki so much. It's more what Cryon said is there's a lot of people in a building, and all they do is they monitor the people that are like you here, Krista. That's all they do. And they're your age and younger. They're kids, for the most part, that are run by older people. They don't quite understand. Kind of like, I'm getting shown the picture of Hacker and NORAD and War Games. Like, kid that didn't exactly really understand the full repercussions of what they were actually doing. Or, if they thought that they did, if you guys who are watching this right now, you guys who think that you understand any of the repercussions of what you are doing, you actually have absolutely no idea. How am I qualified to say that? Still alive, beating all the math. Cryon says they are going to do their math repeatedly. They're going to have special people trying to do this on you. They're going to have, it's going to get very sophisticated, and they're going to see, oh my god, this girl literally defies everything we are doing to her. And she still refuses to turn to the dark side. Okay. Whoa, did she just not even notice that we blew carbon monoxide at her because her body it did not even resonate with the frequency of her body and therefore did not even touch her? Did we just see that? Cryon saying something like that will happen, or something that like he said before, that people will try to expose me to, but that I literally won't notice. Something to that degree. So, what do we do, guys? What we do with this programming, remember, the right hand doesn't know what the left hand is doing. That's my mom's phrase. And so when dealing with people that have had that have gone into, say invited a reptilian entity into themselves, or accepted possession or control, remember, these people will get told, oh yeah, I'm gonna make your wildest dreams come true. Oh yeah, we're gonna get, revenge on so-and-so. Oh yeah, look at that hot chick over there. Oh yeah, look at that, cute guy. Yeah, we can make that happen, baby. You're being lied to. And the programming says that, when someone says you're being lied to, then it gets flipped around for the person to think that I'm lying to them, which is very bizarre. Also, some quick basics. The words trust me mean don't trust me. When someone says the word not, like this, okay, this was in the reptilian prison where I was. The sign said, please do not park wheelchairs 3 feet away from the curb. Now, why would they put do not in parentheses like that? They would do that. This was fortunately something that I already knew from Teal, thank God. I don't remember where, but I did know it from her. When the reptilians are programmed in such a way so that when a human says the word not, or when they say the word not, because we're trained, we've been programmed to speak in the negative. So saying, I do not want World War III. So if a reptilian hears you say, I do not want World War III, they are supposed to take that to mean, I want World War III. Some of them you can't even get past this not issue. And so some of them I have to sit there and I say, I would, also they get taught the phrase to say, I would prefer. So I would say, okay, I would prefer peace. You can also even scare them this way by saying something like, I don't want to hurt you, because they don't have their emotional guidance system still intact, which is mostly your heart chakra there. They can't feel what you're saying. They hear it literally along with their program, which gets flipped around to mean, I want to hurt you. So I don't want to hurt you. You take away the not, and then that means I want to hurt you. The only negative phrase I've noticed that they use that they understand completely is I don't know. That is the only one where there's a not in there. I don't know. So I've noticed that they're taught to understand that. It's as if they go through some sort of very weird, sudden, almost like what you see in Clockwork Orange, but it's as if it's done as a download. Think about that. Think about what happens in a Clockwork Orange, how the guy's eyes are peeled open watching this stuff. And think about that, but think about that as if it were done to you in an astral attack and download. See, it took me a while to not randomly, like, tap things. When I was in the middle of this prison and having underwent this, almost being possessed concept, I would notice that I would exhibit this strange biological programming where you would either knock on something or slap something by accident, or something you might be holding would swing and then knock against something. And they do this outside too. They'll honk at different times. Sometimes when I go from room to room, it will correspond very obviously with my movements to alert each other. Oh, she went into the one room. Well, only two of them, guys, so what, are you bored? Apparently you're bored. Now, actually, apparently you're being handled, is what Cryon said. They're being, so handled, and they understand that they can't hurt you. The ones that are there understand that, but they're being yelled at by the handlers, who have to figure out that they can only support your life. So even if they do things that they perceive that would be harmful, ultimately what he's saying is that supports my life somehow, or that supports the energy somehow. So what we do about this programming system in place is like in Lemuria, is what Kron's main message is right now. Bringing back that healing energy from Lemuria, he says, the way things used to work is it was a small group of people, just like on the earth right now, a few people who have held out against the dark, a few people who have made their way through, made their way out of it, and have survived. And now is when you're going to begin to see the fruits of your labor, just like I already did seeing two reptilians who, had the bony back and everything, saying, you're an angel and you've got to get out of here, and wanting me very much to survive, because I didn't care that they were some other species. I wanted to help them. And that was when I was so shocked that one guy, he clearly identified as a different species and did not care that I was self-identified human species and was going to stay that way. We have these people breaking out of this artificial intelligence programming in our midst. And so this goes along with the deprogramming concept as well. And we have to try and get these people out as best we can. Some of the people are going to be our friends, our parents, who simply just don't act the same anymore. And it's clear that there's another consciousness, another entity there. And if whoever that is wants to come into that which is the light, love, source, then wonderful. But, says Cryon, you have to leave many of them behind. That's just what's going to happen with this. And so essentially, the artificial intelligence, yeah, it might be so cool. Yeah, all the programmers are into it. Yeah, whatever. Well, the news is we break it with our minds. Even if you've had stuff shoved into your mind, or meaning chips and different things, or things shoved into your body, we break that stuff with our mind. Especially if you're an indigo. Hey, the indigos who got themselves a little bit too deep into the programming stuff, we break things. Like, I also, warning, yeah, next person that hangs a belt with glasses or any kind of reflective surface, yeah, and I know what's up, I'm going to break the damn thing, and you're not going to be able to do shit about it. Except say, my thing's broken. Oh man, that indigo warned me. She freaking warned me she would break it, and she totally did. Especially because I'm even wearing my indigo purple color. So, let's conclude this episode of Arcturian Philosophy. While I think next episode, maybe we're going to play with some lightsabers. Nah, I'm just kidding. So, next episode, perhaps, we work on some meditations by people who, at least hopefully I'll find these people who don't try to induce suicide upon who you would think is their counterpart, and people who are doing this the slow, begrudging, real way, if you want to call it that, whatever way you get to God, it's great. But if you're in a situation like me, where you've been challenged by the dark and them saying, you better do what we say, or and you say, no, and you find yourself in a situation where, okay, I know I can do this, I know I can do this, but I can't do all this other crazy stuff I see the kids doing. The kids are doing this stuff, it's just insane, and on all of this stuff. Well, together we're going to learn how to do all of it, and I know that that's part of my purpose on this planet, which is to show the people from the older generation, watch, and we're going to do it. We are going to learn how to see auras, we're going to learn how to move objects, we're going to learn how to do everything that the slightly confused teenagers can do. We're going to figure it out. And so with that, I leave you with Arcturian Philosophy, brought to you by infinitelightlove.org.